Hey F1 fans! Wow, so here we are, Abu Dhabi, the last race of the season, and it's done. And holy smokes, we actually have a bit of a change up at the very end. So let's take a look at who moved up and who moved down for the last time in 2023 season. And there we go. Holy smokes. Yeah, so Saints, big drop. Alonso and Leclerc moving up. Let's check it out. So Carlos Sainz had a really bad quali because he crashed out in Q1. So he started in P16. And then they went on a two-stop strategy because they went hards and hards. And so they still had to make that second stop to switch to mediums. But then basically they just left him out there hoping for a safety car, which would have, it would have played really well, but that never came. So when he pitted in lap 53, with just 2 laps to go from the end, yeah, of course he finished far out of the points in P18. So that's 0 for Carlos for 2 races in a row, like just a really bad finish to the season. Yeah, so he drops, like this has got to be some kind of record to drop from 4th place in the Drivers' Championship to 7th on the last race. Really, really sad for Carlos. But drivers taking advantage. Fernando Alonso, decent race, started P7, finished P7. He struggled with straight line speed and even got passed in the straights at times, but managed to hold that P7, get some points, and move himself up in the championship from 5th to 4th, finished in P4. So congratulations, Alonso. He even said this was like one of his best years, probably his 2nd best year ever in F1. There you go. Yay for the old guys. Not that he's old. All right, and then Charles, he was actually stellar. He started in P2 and drove an amazing race, basically in that spot. He tried for Max at the start, but it just wasn't to be. Max is so aggressive on the defense. So at the end, Leclerc was like thinking he deliberately let Perez pass him in an effort to help his team win the championship because Perez was carrying a 5-second penalty. So if he could get 5 seconds ahead of George before the end of the race, he would serve the penalty and still keep George behind. And the way the points would land then is Ferrari would win the championship and Charles would still get back his P2 when Perez goes back those 5 seconds. If Perez was less than 5 seconds ahead of George at the end, then George would keep his P3 and Perez P4, and then Mercedes would win the championship. That's how close it was, right? It all came down to depending on Perez's penalty. So Charles tried to give Perez a slipstream there near the end and give him some clear air to get him to build that 5-second gap to George. But it was really too late by the time he thought of that. And hello, Ferrari. Why is it that the guy on track, Charles, driving at 200 miles an hour, racing, has to be the one to think of this, okay? So why couldn't they have thought of that with 7 laps to go, 5 laps to go? Any of that would have been enough. But no, the team sat there just going, oh well. And yeah, so they deserved not to get P2 in the championship. I even saw a meme out there that said, yeah, they did it on purpose for the extra wind tunnel time. Okay, maybe. Anyway, so Charles's valiant effort to have his team get P2 was for naught because there just wasn't enough time. He did get the gap down to 4 seconds, but yeah. So amazing race from Charles, amazing season from Charles, and he is P5 in the championship. All right, now as for the rest of the drivers, so there's Lando in the middle of that whole bunch. So he keeps his spot. He starts in P5 and he drove well. He passed Russell at the start on track. But then got a slow pit stop and that let Russell get ahead of him. So after that, he got held up behind Stroll after the next pit stop, lost more time against George. So yeah, he finished P5 where he started, so not bad at all. Just the car just didn't have more for him to really catch and keep those spots. And of course, the slow pit stop did not help. Accidents happened. It just was a stupid tire that was stubborn. But hey, he keeps his P6 in the driver championship. So that's really fine for Lando. And I think, you know, the way that they've developed, they can look forward to a good season last year, especially if they continue to develop. Lando's got a grip of that car. So yeah, great hopes for Lando next season. Okay, George had an amazing race, started in P4, and he finished in in P3 due to the penalty that Perez got. So really happy for him. He got a podium, and that was his second podium of the season. Okay, he finishes P8 in the championship. I guess I should say Perez. We already mentioned his situation. He started in P9, so you know, really good that he finished up where he did in P4. He hit Lando trying to pass him, and that's where he got his 5-second penalty. He's still bent out of shape about that. He still thinks it was Lando's fault, but I agree that it was Perez's fault on that collision. Fortunately, the cars didn't get damaged, and they were both able to keep racing. And also the way he finished, he's 51 points ahead of Hamilton. So, you know, firmly securing his P2 in the championship. With Hamilton, just again, the car is just not working for him. He brought in like, I think it was P9. But yeah, secured P3 already. So Hamilton's good in P3. I just want to look at this 0 and 1. I mean, it was so close between these guys. So Norris totally, if the car was a bit better today, if they didn't have that slow stop, he totally could have been in P4 in the championship. Leclerc could have, if you know, either of the others, if Alonso did like one iota worse, because Leclerc already did everything he could. He wasn't going to get P1, he got P2. That's it. Yeah, so there's our lineup. Yeah, Piastri landing in P9 overall. Yeah, he had some stellar parts of the season that really bumped him up. Stroll redeemed himself a little bit, although nothing like Alonso up there in P4. Pierre Gasly had some bad luck with a slow pit stop as well, and he got hit in the rear by Hamilton, so that was just due to a lockup. So he carried rear damage to his diffuser the rest of the race, so no points again. Ocon also no points, so here they sit the same as last time, 11 and 12 in the championship. Alex outdrove his car, outdrove every teammate. We have Sargent, you know, trailing at the back. Officially, I should have actually changed it to 21 because officially Logan Sargent is 21 in the championship with Liam Lawson holding P20, even though he only drove a handful of races as a temporary substitute driver. So really good on him. And Logan's the one whose seat is still a little bit in question because they haven't signed him, so they may choose to go with a different driver at the end. And then we have our poor back of pack teams. Although I got a shout out to Yuki. Yuki also outdrove his car very much, so beating whoever sat in the seat beside him, whether it was Nick de Vries or Ricardo. So yeah, Tsunoda gets P14 in the championship. Little hats off. He got driver of the day, which was really sweet. He actually led a few laps in this race, which was also nice. I mean, just due to the pit stopping. You know, I was thinking, when you watch a race like that and you see Yuki in P1, and if you're a person who's not, you know, deep into all of the details of F1, you'd be like, Yuki's leading the race. But the piece of information that they don't have at that point is, you know, why he's P1, and it's because of pit stops, because he hasn't pitted yet. And there were a few other drivers at the top of the pack there. Daniel was still up there, who hadn't pitted. So they're only at the top because they haven't pitted and the others have. But when they show us, you know, well, I guess when they show us on the TV the current race positions of everybody, there's no way for us to see, except when they actually switch to that mode where they show us the number of pit stops. There's no easy way to see which drivers are, you know, on the same pit stop and are truly against each other, and which drivers are kind of, you know, they've yet to pit. So they're not really there where we're seeing them in P1 and P2. So if anyone, you know, has an ear onto Formula One, you know, it would be so easy if they just shade the boxes just like a slightly different shade of black. So if you have no idea, that's just, you can ignore that and just not even know about it, and that's cool. But if we do understand that, we need to know, right? At a glance, you want to be able to see which drivers are on which, you know, which ones are racing which ones, and which ones will go back after the next pit stop. So yeah, just a little difference in shading of the boxes, we can at a glance see those different groups of drivers. I would love it if they add that to the graphics. It seems like it wouldn't be very hard to do. So that's a point of feedback. All right, let's go on to the teams. And, oh, what do you know? There were no changes in the team standings, but we can definitely take a look. As we discussed already, Mercedes and Ferrari were super close. And as much as Charles tried, yeah, with Sainz getting 0 for 2 races, I mean, look at how different it could have been if Sainz just had a decent race twice. Damn. So yeah, but hey, yay for Mercedes. As much as they've been crying and you know, put out by how, you know, not great their car was, they pulled it off. There they are in P2 in the championship. They should rejoice, you know, don't cry as much, but at the same time, they're very happy to put that particular car to bed, never see it again, put it in the museum and be done with it. For their sake, I hope their next car is better, at least drivable. I still don't want them to beat Max, but yeah, hopefully Mercedes gets a better car. I don't want them to beat Max, not that good, but at least so that they can stop crying and they can stop complaining and they can actually feel happy in their car, and we can see happy drivers driving their best between George and Hamilton. Okay, McLaren, yes, great. In P4, Aston Martin lost that like just in the last there. So they did not get P4. But yeah, Alpine, yeah, what can we say? Okay. Williams, so these were close, Williams and AlphaTauri, but even though with Yuki doing such a great race, it wasn't enough. But you know, they're not last. And then of course we have our 2 last teams really struggling, both of them. Hopefully, you know, they can get a better car next year. The Haas guys sounded really just so bummed out that last race. Kevin Magnussen said, yeah, I'm just glad the year is over. So yeah, they've been kind of bottom scraping. Let's see who comes back and how they come back next year. So yeah, that was it. That was the whole season. I brought you these videos. I hope you enjoyed them. I enjoyed seeing this myself because I love to see the changes as they happen. And let me know if you want me to make, what I can do is I can cut them all together so that, not all the videos, but just the bits with the arrows, so you can see for the drivers, you know, change as we go through the season, and then the same for the teams. It's probably going to be a cool sequence. But yeah, I may or may not do it next year. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. It takes quite a bit of time. So do let me know if you did like it, if you would like to see it again next year. And wow, I can't believe we're at the end. I don't know what we're gonna do, but hey, let's take a break. Let's miss F1. Let's, you know, just look forward to the next season. It's less than 100 days. And maybe see you in the next one. Have a great off season. Bye.